Hi, welcome back to Tashi's World of Books, and welcome to another book recommendation video. Hey you guys, welcome back. So this video is going to be a little bit specific, a little bit of a weekly reading wrap up, a little bit of a book recommendation, and a little bit of a lot of things. So let's talk about what I am doing. So I am in the process of doing a deep dive into Christine Feehan, and I am reading all of her Dark series. And so I'm going to call this part one of this video. So obviously it's going to be a couple of videos because she's got like 30 something books, but I'm going to read them all. And this series, let me start off by saying in her Dark series, this is a race, an ancient race of beings called Carpathians. And the Carpathians are on the verge of extinction. And they're on the verge of extinction because there are only like 5 females left, and they are no longer having female children. Like the females, when you find your life mate, they have children, and the children that they are having are male children. Okay, so also when a Carpathian does not find their life mate and they are basically subject to living a barren life without the love of their life, they then go into this period of darkness. And so they don't see colors anymore. Everything becomes barren and bleak. They can become emotionless. They can become very hardened. They can become very just angry beings. And if they succumb to the darkness and the beast within them, they then can become vampires. And that is how so vampires and Carpathians are very different beings. A vampire has succumbed to the darkness and taken on and embraced the darkness and has become a vile and evil and malevolent character, whereas a Carpathian they're of the earth, they're natural, they use herbs and scents, and they heal through the earth, and they drink blood just like vampires do. However, they don't harm the person who is their recipient that's giving them. Okay, so that's the whole premise of this. So when we start off the series with Dark Prince is about the prince, and his name is Mikhail Dobrinsky, and he is the prince of the Carpathians and this ancient race, and they are in the Carpathian Mountains, and he comes across Raven, and Raven is a female human. And so what we quickly learn is that, through his loss of emotions, through his lack of emotions, lack of seeing color, he sets his sights on Raven, and instantly he sees color and he feels emotion, and all of this stuff floods into him like he hasn't experienced in over like 2,000 years. And so he instantly knows that Raven is his mate. And so encoded deep within him, he has to seek her out, and he has to make her and bind her to him through these ancient words that he says. And when he says the ancient words, that then binds them together for all eternity. Now, and then also, before Carpathian male finds his true mate, they have no sexual desire at all. And so again, another way that they know is when he sees Raven, he has this tremendous need for her. And so all of these books are going to be alpha heroes. They are also going to be very domineering. And I have a suspicion that the reason that they're not having, because the male is the one who determines the sex of the child, and I think because they are so domineering and so alpha, they are the ones who are determining the sex of the children and making them male. We haven't said this yet, but this is what I suspect is going on. Okay, so in this particular book, we're learning that Raven is special because Raven has psychic powers, and she works with the FBI, and she works to catch serial killers. So she has power in her own right. So there is this definite angst of push and pull. Mikhail trying to exert his will onto Raven, and Raven trying to resist that. But she has this tremendous pull towards him as well, and she wants to be with him, and she wants to have this relationship, but she's not going to be dictated to. And so I like it because it's their story. It's them coming to terms, because they're the first pairing of this type, so they don't have any history or anybody to go to try to figure out what exactly is happening. Most generally, any kind of pairings or matings between human and Carpathian, if you seek to try to turn them into a Carpathian, what you wind up with is a vampirus, and a vampirus feeds on the blood of children and are very dangerous and psychopathic creatures, and so it's been frowned upon. And so, what the Prince Mikhail is doing, all of his people are like, what is wrong with you? You can't do this. You can't take her. She's human. But he's like, but she's my life mate. I have to. I feel this tremendous pull towards her. I need her, and she needs me. And so it's the development of the relationship. It's the beginning of potential survival of this race of beings. There's also a vampire hunter society that is out there trying to destroy all vampires, and they don't see that there is a difference between Carpathians and vampires, because the Carpathians also want to destroy the vampires. So when a Carpathian does turn rogue and become a vampire, they are going to be destroyed by their own Carpathians, but there also is this vampire hunter society. And so there's a lot of angst in this book. There's a lot of Mikhail trying to protect Raven, Raven trying to exert her independence, Raven getting herself into trouble, Mikhail trying to make sure she's safe and trying to put safeguards around her. And during the day, he can't help her, and she's, vulnerable during this time. So it really is a refreshing, cool, take on things. And he's used to people following his orders, and Raven is used to having her own way. So the angst between the two of them is really, really great. I absolutely recommend this. This is a 4 out of 5. So then let's continue. The next book in the series is Dark Desire, and this is Shay and Jacques' story. And I loved this story. Jacques is Mikhail's brother, his biological brother. And this story takes place 7 years later. And this one is, you want to talk about a tortured hero. Jack is captured and tortured for 7 years, and he is put into the ground and made to suffer for 7 years. And Shay is the daughter of, we get to find out she's half Carpathian. I'm not going to say who she's the daughter of, but she's the daughter of somebody, which is discovered in this book. She's raised as human, so she doesn't know that she's part Carpathian, and she doesn't understand why she was so neglected as a child. Now, the other thing that I think is important to note in this series, as we're starting to learn, if a Carpathian takes you as his mate, as life mate, and you complete the ritual, these two cannot be apart. If they are separated, if one dies, the other will die. If they don't fully complete the ritual, but they still are bound, and something happens to one, the other one cannot survive long without them. And so so it is really important that once this mating ritual takes place, that each take care to ensure that they are protected and safe, because it means the survival of the others. And then the other thing I think is really important to mention is that because women are so revered and they are not having female children, it is like highly imperative that women are protected at all costs. So women are highly revered, protected at all costs, and almost smothered and dictated to, because the men who are alpha dudes want to ensure that these women are safe and protected. And they do it from this perspective of we're keeping you safe. We're doing this because it means the survival of our race and the survival of our species. But, when you start to take on these human women that are not Carpathian women and that are psychic women on top of it, they're like, you don't get to tell me what to do, because I'm going to be independent, do what I want to do. Okay, so she doesn't know that she is part Carpathian. She is, at the time that he was abducted by the vampire hunters, she is nearby, and he senses her, and he mistakenly believes that she was part of this plot to harm him, and he's angry. And so he calls to her, and it really is this story of two broken people, because she's broken in her own right because she was neglected and left to fend for herself by her mother. And he, obviously, because he was tortured for 7 years, his mind is warped and broken, but she has a good soul. So she finds him and discovers him. And when she discovers him, she takes care of him. And it's about trust, it's about loss, it's about respect, it's about forgiveness. There's a lot wrapped up in this book. This really, really was a good story. And when he meets his brother again, he has memory loss and amnesia. So there's a lot of tropes in here, but this is, definitely a scarred hero on both sides, a heroine and a hero. And it just is a really, really good story. This is a 4 out of 5 star for me. The next book in the series is Dark Gold, and Dark Gold is the story of Alexandria and Aiden Savage. And when he first meets her, Alexandria is taken captive by a vampire. And this vampire starts the process of transforming her, because vampires believe that if I steal a psychic woman, because now the word is getting out that psychic human women can be life mates to Carpathians. So vampires now are like seeking out these psychic human women because they believe if I steal one, then she can convert me and will make me see light and emotions and experience all of these things. And I'm going to, I can overcome being a vampire. And so she's kidnapped by this vampire. And when Aiden comes along, he sees that she has a child with her, which the child is her brother, but he mistakenly believes that she's been turned vampirous. And so he then inadvertently completes the process of converting her. And so now once it's discovered that no, he figures out, no, she's not a vampiress, she's human. And not only is she human, she's my life mate. And now what have I done? He's going to protect her at all costs. There's another human, she was another human that she was on a sort of interview with. He is vying for her attention. Carpathian males are very territorial, and this is, about him trying to give her space to come to him on her own. There also is a newfound family situation because Aiden has lived independently on his own, and he has a human family that he lives with, that he protects, that they protect him. And so how she fits into this dynamic with Aiden and the human family that he lives with, and the little brother that she's been left to raise really loves Aiden, and what is that like? And so really just discovering what all this means, because she is taking on this new way of life of being a Carpathian when she didn't request this and didn't want it and doesn't want to be with Aiden and is fighting every step of the way. And so this is a very, very angsty push and pull, love, hate. It's a hate to love type situation, and it's really, really good for sure. I gave this, every book is getting better and better. And you have to remember, these books are 20 years old. These were written in 1999, 2000. So this was really, really good. I gave this a 4 out of 5 star. The next book is Dark Magic. We have been waiting for this book. We've been hearing about Gregory since book 1. Gregory is the second to the prince, Mikhail, and Gregory is called the Dark One. He is the most powerful Carpathian. He is the oldest Carpathian. He is even more powerful than the prince. Now, we had talked about in book 1 that Mikhail gets together with Raven. They then have a child, and that child is a girl child, and her name is Savannah, and Gregory knows from the very beginning when he first meets Raven that she is going to have his fated mate or his life mate. And in fact, they do. Savannah, because Gregory is so powerful and he's so ancient, is terrified of him, and so she flees. And he honors and says, I'm going to give her 5 additional years past her age of majority, past 18, to let her have her freedom, because being mated to me is going to be tough and it's not going to be easy, and I want to give her that time. But he's like, but I'm pushing up against the last limits that I have, and if I don't claim her by that time, then I'm going to turn to the dark side, and it's going to be terrible for all of humanity if this happens. And so this is an enemies to lovers. This is a forced proximity, because he goes and gets her at that 5-year mark and steals her, basically. It is an age gap. It is a powerful force versus a very gentle force. There is the scene in here where there is some dubious consent, and it's tough, but at the same time, you understand everything that's happening. This is a beautiful, beautiful story. I absolutely loved it, because Gregory is powerful and needed for the race, and Savannah is headstrong. She's Raven's daughter. She was raised in the ways of mortals, and Gregory sort of, you know, looks at it like she shouldn't have been raised this way. You know what it means to be a Carpathian, and you know what we need from our people, and you know that our women are so, so important. She did you a disservice by raising you in this way. So this was so, so good, because Savannah's going to fight him every step of the way, because she's terrified of him. She's terrified because he is a force to be reckoned with. But she brings out a gentleness in him as well. So I gave this a 5 out of 5 star. And so let me say, I don't often comment on covers, but I love this cover. I don't know what it is, but it harkens to the covers of old. So this one is Dark Challenge. This is book number 5. This is Julian and Desiree's story. And Julian is the brother to Aiden in book 3 in Dark Gold. So in this book, these two are twins, and you get to find out why they've been separated in Julian's book. He explains it to you. And so he is a loner. He is isolated. He fears hurting the ones that he loves. He has been alone, but he's an ancient one, so he's very, very old. He comes upon, he's given one last mission. He's given a mission. He says, I'm going to take on this last mission to protect Savannah for Gregory. But he's like, Gregory, when he's done with that and Gregory claims her, he goes, I'm going to give you one more mission. He's like, there's this singer. She's pretty popular. You know, she's part of this troupe. The vampire hunters have put a claim out on her life. Just go and warn her, make sure she's safe, and just check in on her. And Julian says, no problem, I'll do that. And then, but in his mind, he's like, once I'm done with that, I am gonna like meet the dawn, I'm done. And when he goes to San Francisco to meet her and warn the troupe, he instantly comes to life and knows that she is his mate. Now, the problem is that her singing group is made up of a group of people, and the people in this group, it comes to be determined that these are the long-lost Carpathians, and these are Gregory's siblings, and they were thought to be long dead. And because they weren't raised amongst other Carpathians, they don't know the ways of his people. And so they see Julian as coming to steal Desiree away, and her brother is going to protect him. Her brother's name is Darius. Darius is going to protect Desiree, at all costs against Julian. And so it all ensues from there. And so she's independent, she's powerful. This is a found family. It's about mutual respect, because Darius, the brother who has led them and kept them safe all these years, now has to come up against Julian, who is an ancient one, and he's powerful, but Julian wants to respect Darius because he is Desiree's brother. So it really is an interesting story. This is the best book in the series so far. I gave this a 4.75 out of 5 star. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. The next book in the series is Dark Fire. This is book 6. This is Darius's story, and I love it because Darius, we get to hear the troupe of that were introduced to us in Dark Challenge. And so now Darius meets Tempest, and Tempest is, she's a force to be reckoned with. And she has a trauma history. She has a history of rape. She has a history of abuse, and she's a foster kid. and she is trying so hard to be strong, and Darius, because he wasn't raised in the ways of Carpathians, is struggling to figure out how to communicate all of this. But he's so gentle, he's so kind to her, he loves her so much. I love how he talks to her. I love how he gives the respect, because in this book he was like super like challenging to his sister, and Julian's like, you're not going to talk to her like that, like she is not in your care anymore. But over here, you know, you see a totally different side to him. And so this is beautiful. It's great. It's wonderful. He protects her. He does everything. I mean, these are alpha heroes, but they are going to go to the ends of the earth to protect their women, because their women are the most cherished thing. And I love it because you get to see other characters that are in this in this troop, where you see a couple of the other guys, you see them like starting to develop emotions with things that are happening in background in this story. And so again, this is really, really good. I loved it. Okay, so then it gets a little bit odd. So we've got Dark Nights, but this is a bind up, a novella in Dark Nights, which is going to be important that you read, and it's like book 6.5. It's called Dark Dream. And Dark Dream, I loved it because this is, and it's, you know, the second half of the book is Dark Dream, so it's in here. And then you go back and read the other novella, Dark Descent, like it's a novella like 10 something. I'll tell you when we read it. Okay, so Dark Dream is about Sarah and Falcon. And Falcon is an ancient one that was summoned by McKeel's father. And basically they were told to go out to far off lands because our people are going to be hunted to the point of extinction. And I need you all, you are my best warriors, to volunteer to go out to these far places to fight the vampires. And Falcon is one of those. So Falcon is basically at the end of his wit. He's basically getting ready to meet the dawn. He happens upon a scene and he doesn't see the woman, but he hears her voice. And when he hears her voice, on come the emotion, and he knows instantly that she is the one for him. And so he basically pursues her. What's interesting about this story is that years prior, when she was a young girl, her parents were archaeologists, and Falcon wrote a journal, and he wrote a journal to his mate, his life mate, and said, this is a gift that I leave to you. I'm never going to meet you. I'm never going to see you, but this is what I want to say to you. But the journal called to her. And so when they went on this dig, she found this journal and she translated it through a succession. They explain it and she reads it. And so it just spoke to her. And because she is a powerful psychic, she was able to develop a bust of what he looked like. And so when she actually meets him, it's like it all floods back to her. So she is not so turned off to this idea when he starts to explain it to her. And I love it because it's a short novella. This is a 5 out of 5 star. It also brings back Jacques from earlier. It brings back McKeel. It brings back their mates. And so you get to go back to the Carpathian Mountains. You get to see them all come together to fight this ancient evil that is after Sarah, because Sarah is powerful. This ancient evil and this demon vampire wants her to help him to find another magical book that can make him even more powerful. And so the story ensues from there. And again, it is really, really good. It is one of the best stories. I gave it a 5 out of 5 star for a novella. Like, it was done really, really well, and I absolutely loved it. Okay, so you guys, I have talked so long about all of this Kristen Feehan. I absolutely love it. She is the queen of paranormal romance. So if you are looking for alpha heroes, if you are looking for obsessive alpha heroes, if you are looking for I hate everybody but you, and if you touch her, you'll die, every one of these books are, it gives you just enough angst where you feel like, you a little bit like this, but not too much where you're like, you know, so anxious that you can't really enjoy the story. It all comes together in an HEA, and it feels like beautiful, and the story is ongoing, and so you get to see other characters, and you get to see the development. This is happening over years and years and years, like 7 years and 18 years and so on and so forth. So it's really beautiful. I recommend. These are older books, but why not? Let's try it out, because we got a lot of new stuff, and we got some, can go back to some oldies but goodies. And so this is part 1, and like I said, I'm going to have multiple books or multiple videos that I do on this, because I want to get them all to you. Anyway, I'm rambling. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you enjoyed the video. Please like and subscribe, and you guys know that I upload new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Thank you guys. Bye.